workshops across the country in Kasungu, Lilongwe, Salima, Dedza, Balaka, Zomba, Mulanje, Blantyre, Chikwawa, Mwanza, and Mangochi. For more information, contact 0883 815 055 or 0996 892 965. Get a Zuku decoder today and not miss daily mass, worship and prayers, news bulletins, and so much more on Luntha TV, bringing wisdom into your home.
You are watching Luntha television and it's time for news. My name is Helbert Katanda. Now let's have a look at our top stories. New Syrian Catholic bishop tells how he survived captivity by Islamic State. Human Rights Consultative Committee recommends action against Martha Chisuma over late audio. Cultural beliefs putting people's lives at risk. And in international news, Rwanda sex minister jailed for corruption. We have these and more other stories to stay tuned in. A Syrian priest whose appointment as Archbishop was confirmed by Pope Francis on 7th January shared the difficult times he spent being held hostage by the Islamic State terrorist group and the importance of the spirit of forgiveness. In a statement, ACI Prensa, CNR's Spanish-language sister news agency, Father Joaquis Maret, elected Archbishop of Homs, Syria by the Synod of Bishops of the Patriarchal Church of Antioch of the Syrians Eastern Rite Catholics in communion with Rome, record that when he was kidnapped by the Islamic State, along with a postulant from his congregation, he said the jihadists were trying to convert them to Islam. We have the details.
Despite the risk of death, he recalled in that situation how other Christians had the courage and enthusiasm to respond in order to testify to their faith. Despite the danger our lives were in, he stressed, "We are disciples of Jesus crucified and risen." It was precisely under these conditions, he noted, that he laid a magnificent example of forgiveness. The new Archbishop was kidnapped by Islamic terrorists on March 21st in 2015 when an armed group entered the Mar-Elian monastery in Syria and took him away along with a postulant from his congregation. Archbishop-elect Morad said that his captors are in his prayers every day. Regarding his appointment, the new prelate noted that Homs had not had an archbishop since June 2020 when Archbishop Theophile Philip Barakat died. The majority of the faithful of the archdiocese are peasants who farm, produce and live off their hard labor. Most of their families are poor and they are getting poorer due to the economic crisis that is going on in their country due to sanctions and corruption. The crisis in Syria began in 2011 in the midst of protests of the so-called Arab Spring, which led to the overthrow of rulers in some countries in the region. Muslim terrorist groups such as Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State joined the protests demanding the departure of Syrian President Bashar al-Assad. The violence sparked a civil war, with the Syrian government having Russia and Iran as allies and Turkey as an adversary. Hundreds of thousands have died in the war, and while the violence has decreased in recent years, an economic crisis still grips the country and its people.
Moa Parish Priest Father Christian Muhineza has appealed to the Catholic Church and Malawians to start recognizing people who have contributed a lot to the Church and the nation. The call has been made after Luntha television identified and visited an 83-year-old man, Panclasio Pondani Pico Piri, from Moa in the district, who composed the famous hymns and book La Nyimbo Ndimapempero. According to Father Muhineza, even though the heroes do not do things for the sake of being recognized, it is important for the country to do something to encourage and appreciate them, as a lot of them are struggling even though they serve the church and the country. More in these reports by Bridget Monoga.
Barely hours after Luntha television visited and shared the story of one Panclasio Pondani Pili from Dedza last Thursday, various social media platforms too did not hesitate to share the story and pictures. The platforms have been flooded with comments from followers that the hero deserves a befitting house for being the one who composed the most famous hymns in Bugula Nyimbo in Mapempero, including the famous Juma Jatuchi, which is loved not only by Catholics but other congregants too, which is mostly known as Ayambe Kumboyoko. Mua parish priest in the Diocese of Dedza, Father Christian Muhineza, says it could be a great idea if the nation identifies people like Pico Pili, who have contributed enormously to the growing of the church and nation as a lot are seen failing to sustain their lives.
Of course, first of all, these people, they didn't do this work in order to be recognized, not at all. Still, the church has to do something to encourage them in their lives. They served the church. They also deserve to be thanked and recognized. So it would be a good idea if, for instance, the Church of Malawi here could identify other people who have contributed enormously to the growing of the church here in Malawi, to recognize them, even if it's about giving them a certificate of recognition. That could be enough.
In an exclusive interview with Luntha television, Pico Pili disclosed that he started composing the hymns in 1970s when he was in his early 30s. He said it never crossed his mind that the hymns could be famous, but did it with a passion as he loves to serve the church.
When I'm gone, I will rest as a peaceful man, knowing that the people I left behind will always remember me with the hymns I composed. I'm glad to know that the hymns will always be valued.
During the special exclusive interview, Pico Pili's caregiver asked well-wishers to help the hopeless man with, among other things, a wheelchair, food, clothes, as well as a shelter.
It is true he's really facing a lot of challenges. As you can see, he's struggling to walk. So if a well-wisher can assist us with a wheelchair, maybe he can start going to the church again, because that is what he really wants the most.
Panclasio Pondani Pico Pili was born in 1940 and started composing the hymns in 1970. 8 of his famous hymns are included in Bugula Nyimbo Ndimapempero, like Ambuye Pobadwa mu Bethlehem and Mukunka Kuti Ambuye, among others. Meanwhile, some citizens have recommended that those touched by his hymns and want to do something should be mobilized and proceed in assisting the man, as the hymns he composed are for the service of God. For Luntha News, this is Bridget Manoka.
The Human Rights Consultative Committee has paid the Public Appointments Committee of Parliament to look into the leaked audio involving SCB Director General Martha Chizuma. The grouping has written Parliament days after calling President Lazarus Chakwera to act on the recommendations as put in the Commission of Inquiry report that was investigating Chizuma's arrest. The Commission of Inquiry recommended that appropriate action be taken to deal with the conduct of Chizuma, and so far as the leaked audio is concerned. But according to Robert Nkwezaramba, HRCC board chairperson, the President's address delivered last week failed to tackle the recommendations. Malawi Revenue Authority has disclosed that some government ministries, departments and agencies are owing the tax collector about 61 billion kwacha in form of unpaid taxes. MRA Commissioner General John Biswick has told the Parliamentary Committee on Budget and Finance that the unpaid taxes dates back to 6 years. Some of the institutions in an unpaid tax arrears include the country's water boards, which are owing about 13.5 billion kwacha, Auction Holdings Limited with 13.9 billion kwacha, and local government with 5 billion kwacha. In an interview, Biswicki said they have engaged the institutions, including Auction Holdings Limited, which has told MRA that it is going through financial challenges. You are still watching news on Luntha television and on our various social media platforms. Now let's have a look at our top stories once more before we proceed. New Syrian Catholic Archbishop tells how he survived captivity by Islamic State. Human Rights Consultative Committee recommends action against Martha Chizuma over leaked audio. Cultural beliefs putting people's lives at risk. And in international news, Rwanda sex minister jailed for corruption. Moving on, government through the Ministry of Education has retaliated its commitment towards expanding access, improving quality education and performance of the primary school subsector. Spokesperson in the ministry, Mphatso Nkonera, made the remarks earlier today as he disclosed that the ministry has recruited about 4,125 primary school teachers under internship program through the 210 billion kwacha World Bank supported Malawi education reform program. According to Nkonera, the move is part of the efforts by the government to reduce the high teacher-to-learner ratio across the country. Tando Nzumara reports.
The Ministry of Education recently received $210 million, which is about 210 billion kwacha, from the World Bank for the implementation of infrastructure projects and services in the education sector under the Education Reform Program project for Malawi. It is under this project that the Ministry of Education has recruited the interns with hopes to ease access to quality primary education. According to Public Relations Officer for the Ministry, Mphatso Nkonera, the program also includes construction of school blocks, which will commence soon to address shortage of classrooms in primary schools.
We intend to construct 10,900 cost-effective classrooms in 5,553 schools, among other components and construction works, which will commence very soon. This is to show how committed the ministry is so that we make education accessible for each and every learner now and again.
While commenting that the initiative has a great potential to improve the quality of primary education if fully and efficiently implemented, education expert Lexon Ndalama suggests that in the long term, government should consider allocating more funds to the Ministry of Education to be used in employing permanent teachers.
In the short term, it means quite a number of learners are going to benefit, whilst we are making national plans to address the issue in a permanent way, which is permanent hiring, which has to require that we have enough resources in our own treasury.
In October 2022, the Ministry of Education, through the Malawi Education Reform Program MERP, gave temporary contracts to 4,125 auxiliary teachers drawn from the initial primary teacher education, EPT cohort 13, and part of the EPT cohort 14. For Luntha News in Lilongwe, this is Tandiwe Mzumara.
Road users in the city of Lilongwe have extended a blame to authorities over poor road infrastructure marred with potholes. The users, most of them minibus drivers and motorcycle operators, have told Luntha Television that the roads are putting their lives at high risk of facing accidents. This has come out during our special research on how the rains have disrupted the roads within the city. Bernard Mwanza reports.
These are some of the potholes in the city's Paul Kagame Highway, popularly known as Chilambula, one of the most busy roads within the city. It is just one of the roads having potholes in addition to the M1 road section at Lilongwe Bridge and the other section from Lilongwe CSAP to Kamuzu Central Hospital Road. At this place, we found other sympathizers sealing the holes. He says this is a busy road which accommodates more users, including cars on a funeral entourage. One of the road users, Frank Kazewa, who is a motorcycle taxi operator, told us that the condition of the city roads is a threat to their businesses. He says sometimes vehicles avoid such potholes, thereby swerving to the other side of the road, where mostly such operators use. As this is not enough, the road from Area 18 through Sainti to Area 25 is reportedly to have been poorly constructed almost 7 years ago, but some sections already got damaged almost 2 years after construction. But until now, nothing has been done, a situation that brings more challenges during the rainy season. Felix Mpalalo, a minibus operator, wonders as to why the road has been neglected despite other senior government officials using the same route each and every time. Lilongwe City Mayor, His Worship Richard Banda, says there are teams on the ground that have been sponsored by Roads Authority to evaluate the condition of the roads.
You can go even Shilambula, go Chizanja Road, the contractors that are already on the ground. And hopefully all the roads that are within the city will be patched by these contractors.
Meanwhile, the mayor has revealed that construction works of other major roads within the city, such as the 6-lane Kenyatta Drive and Mzimba Street, have been delayed due to unavailability of forex for the importation of some construction equipment, but that the works will resume soon. For Luntha News in Lilongwe, I am Bernard Mwanza.
District Commissioner for Balaka says the main cause of the riot at Nandumbo Health Center was cultural beliefs, as the communities are of the view that they should be on the forefront during burial ceremony of cholera dates rather than healthy workers. Speaking with Luntha Television, District Commissioner Darwin Ngoli said the people in the area say it is not necessary to put the deceased in plastic bags and that they should be given a chance to be guarding patients themselves. He added that people are also worried that medical supplies are inadequate at the facility compared to patients at the hospital. Priska Mashushu reports.
The district commissioner said that workers at the health center are not comfortable due to what has happened, despite that chiefs has assured them security from the surrounding people. Furthermore, Mungori said that it is unfortunate that people in the area trust cultural beliefs on cholera while putting lives at risk. Hence, prevention should be a priority rather than concentrating on cultural beliefs.
We had a meeting yesterday where they told us their concerns. Some of the concerns are cultural beliefs. For example, like when somebody has died of cholera, the relatives are not allowed to wash the body. And they would love if they can wash the body of the dead ones. And again, they are concerned that the dead body is put in a plastic bag. They don't understand why. And again, they could complain that they also worried that the supplies at the facility are not enough, like the IV fluids.
Mungoli has also said that the government should civic educate the people concerning cholera issues. Meanwhile, health expert Professor Adamson Muller said that people should allow health workers do their job properly, as it will help to protect guardians from the disease. He also added that cholera treatment campsites are not places for congestion, as guardians are at risk of infections. Hence, people should understand the situation. He has further urged the society to work together with health professionals when an outbreak has occurred in order to prevent misunderstandings among them.
What needs to happen is community awareness, community engagement, so that the community and the health professionals are working together. There should not be a chance where it is us against them, or thinking that health workers are not doing anything good to save life. So working together, community sensitization, talking to each other and with each other, this is the way forward, so that health workers and communities together fight the cholera outbreak.
Yesterday, angry people vandalized the cholera campsite and health workers' residence at Nandumbo Health Center over some misunderstandings concerning cholera beliefs. For Luntha TV, this is Priska Mashushu.
And now in sports, Football Association of Malawi has released a list of 3 nominees for the 2022 Airtel Top 8 Player of the Tournament Award. The 3 are Nyasa Big Bullets defender Gomezian Tira and Mighty Mukuru Wanderers duo of striker Chugebo Msoya and defender Miracle Kabeya. The winner will be crowned at a special ceremony to be hosted by the sponsors Airtel Malawi in February. And now in news from elsewhere, a high court in Rwanda has sentenced a former youth and cultural minister to 5 years in prison over corruption charges, extending a previous sentence by a year. The original sentence, which came last year against Eduardo Bamporiki, was a rare case of a top official convicted over corruption in the country. He was suspended from cabinet last May and put under house arrest while being investigated for corruption and misuse of power. He remained under house arrest until this ruling. The minister confessed to the charges on Twitter and asked President Paul Kagame for forgiveness, but in September a court sentenced him to 4 years, which he appealed. That also concludes our today's news bulletin, but before we go, a reminder of our top stories. New Syrian Catholic bishop tells how he survived captivity by Islamic State. Human Rights Consultative Committee recommends action against Martha Chisuma of Letodio. Cultural beliefs putting people's lives at risk. At the international news, Rwanda sex minister jailed for corruption. My name is Helbert Katanda. Stay safe and observe cholera preventive measures. Thanks for watching, and it's goodbye for now.